All right. Good late afternoon, everybody. Finally, the weather seems to be starting to break, at least for the next couple of days. Good to see everybody who I can see. This is an update. I apologize for not being available for the last meeting. I got caught up in a deposition that went longer than I expected, but from what I hear, Julie was a more than sufficient replacement, and that many have asked for her to do it instead of me going forward. But I'm going to disappoint everybody by doing it today. So anyway, um, as has been the case, there's not a lot to report. We are waiting for a response from the Internal Revenue Service. So everything else with regard to the pension continues to progress as it has been. People are receiving their benefits. People who are applying for benefits are receiving those applications are being processed, and everything is moving along in the same way it has been since the beginning of this case. I just ask that everybody stay on mute unless you have a question or because the background noise is distracting. Um, with regard to the federal government, the IRS, we're waiting in order to get a determination from the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. As I've told you in the past, we need what's called a determination letter from the IRS, which is a letter that indicates that the plan actually qualifies to be covered by the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation for the insurance coverage for your pension. So it's a two-step process. The IRS is substantially behind ever since COVID due to staffing and things like that. Um, we were able to ask them I don't want to say to expedite it, but to put it more in the front burner for somebody. That was done, and we are waiting for that determination from them. The issue from a standpoint of timeframes, uh, the determination letter, technically, we should have received it by now, but as I said, they're backed up, and the IRS doesn't necessarily have to go by the timeframes that I guess they're more suggested rather than hard timeframes. So we're waiting for them to come back with a determination letter for us. Once they do that, then we will send that to the PBGC. And we passed, if you remember, I spoke to you about a 5-year phase in. So once we elected to be covered under ERISA and therefore eligible for PBGC coverage, the PBGC regulations require there to be a phase in over a period of 5 years, which this isn't exactly it. I'm going to simplify it, but it's basically in year one, you'd get coverage up to about 20%, year two, 40, year three, 60, and so on, because they don't want people or plans that are in desperate need electing to be covered on day one and then seeking 100% coverage on day two. The Okay. The um the anniversary for our 5 years was mid-April. So we have passed that 5-year threshold, and we are past the 5 years. So at this point, assuming we get a determination letter, a favorable determination letter from the IRS, and then that goes to the PBGC, to the extent the PBGC grants coverage, then that coverage there would be no reason why it couldn't be at the 100% at this point because we've passed those 5 years. Um, it's a waiting game at this point. Like I said, it's a two-step process, IRS first, PBGC next. The settlement with the diocese is contingent on getting a determination letter and getting 100% coverage from the PBGC. So it's everybody's hope that that's what happens, because if that's what happens, everybody who was vested in this plan as of the day that I was appointed receiver way back in 2017, would be their pensions would be guaranteed up to 100%. So that's obviously the goal. Going to litigation with the diocese, unraveling the settlement and going to litigation with the diocese is a long and expensive process and is not something that any of us would be looking forward to, especially because it comes with inherent risks that exist with all litigation. So with that, I don't have any deadline updates because I haven't been given any deadline updates from the IRS. But with that, if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Julie is on the call, and so what I would ask is if you have questions specific to an application that you want to file for benefits or anything related to specific benefits, shoot Julie an email and she will either answer your question or give you the contact information for somebody at GRS who can get you that information. They're the ones who manage the benefits for the plan for me. So with that, open up the floor to any questions. If you want to raise your hand or anything, I can unmute or ask to unmute. Anyone? Anyone? Marilyn, I saw your mouth move, but I did not hear any words because you're on mute. And Kathy is saying you're the lucky one.
I I didn't have a question. I don't know. I think my hand went up by mistake.
Oh, that's okay. That's all
But I
right.
just want you to notice that I'm now in outer space instead of in Florida because everybody thought I had moved to Florida.
Well, let me tell you, outer space, Florida and outer space may feel like the same thing sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, right. You are right.
So, all right. Well, good to see you. Good to hear from you. Anybody have any questions? I know, I mean, I think it's important that we meet regularly, even if the update is to tell you I have no update, because sometimes knowing that we haven't had any news is at least good news. So it's my hope that we will have something from the IRS. It's May now. I would hope that within the next 60 to 90 days, like I said, they've been kind enough because of our contacts, the two individuals that I brought on that have familiarity with PBGC and the IRS. Um, Alan Tushunsky, who's an attorney down in Washington, D.C., who his connection is the IRS. He reached out and they were kind enough to move it to somebody, our application to somebody's desk, so that it was actually going to get dealt with. Otherwise, I will tell you the IRS, I think when Julie contacted them a couple of months ago, they were just getting to applications that had been submitted in 2020. So we submitted ours in 2023, so that would tell you where we would land in the line. But it is now moved to the front of the line. They were gracious enough to do that for us based on the relationship with Alan. So I'm hoping that we have something within the next 60 to 90 days, if not soon. Any questions? Again, if it's a question about benefits or anything like that, Julie is available via email, and she can either answer the question or connect you with the people at GRS. And I'm sure that everybody was much more interested in having Julie present at the last one. She was probably much more dynamic and interesting than I am. But Julie, you could say hi if you want, just to give everybody a dose. She doesn't even want to talk.
It took me a minute to find myself on the screen to unmute myself. So, good evening, everybody.
So, any questions? If not, I will go right ahead. Yeah.
Hi, Steve. How
Hi.
much? Hi, Carol and I here. We're saying hello. How much money do we have in the plan, and how much is the monthly benefit going out?
So both of those have remained relatively consistent. Give me 1 second to get you the dollar amount as of right now, because we have approximately $61 million in the plan, which is right around where we've been. We've kind of been hovering at that.
Excuse me,
And we're
Steve.
putting out at about $1 million a month. So benefits are just shy of, I think my last report, it was somewhere around 957,000 per month. And that's been relatively consistent. It goes up a little bit. I don't think we've ever gone above $1 million, and I don't think we've been below 900. So it kind of it fluctuates in that area.
Thank you.
Sure.
Excuse me, Steve.
Yes,
I
sure.
I certainly don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but we actually have just around 51 million, not 61 million.
Does that include the Schwab money?
Yeah, 51
Oh,
million total.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
everyone.
Yeah, sorry, everyone. I thought that the number that I had was not inclusive of some money that's being held over at Schwab. But if that is inclusive, then we have $50 million. So I apologize for adding 11 million to that, which is what we have at Schwab. I will say, I did just recently, and by recently, within the past 3 months, reallocated money with Mercer for investments. The market has been strong, and so we evaluate that every couple of months and move investments around to maximize that. And you probably saw recently we went in, there was one trust that was for reasons unknown to me because it predates my involvement, had been excluded from the action with the court that sent the trust over to the plan. That has been corrected, and those monies are coming over to the plan. It's not life-changing amounts, but it is a significant amount. I think the amount I've asked for an accounting, but I think what's coming over is going to be somewhere around $500,000, give or take. So that will go into the plan as well. Yes, Marilyn.
Steve, what do you mean 11 million is over at Schwab?
So when we received the money from the old St. Joe's, from if you remember, we entered into the settlement with the old legacy hospitals. There was money that was restricted, and it was in a Schwab account. So Schwab has been managing it, and there were restrictions on that. It was put in there in conjunction with Mercer. I actually think that they were proprietary Mercer accounts, but they were being managed by Schwab, oddly enough. And the issue with that money up to this point has been that it carried a substantial penalty if I closed out that investment before certain timeframes had passed. Those timeframes have passed, and we are working to move that money over from Schwab over to Bank of America and Mercer. So it is money that is available for the pension, or that it belongs in the pension completely. But because of those restrictions, we would have lost about 50% of the value of it had we moved it early. So in order to save that, we didn't obviously, with $50 million, well, I guess with 40 million with Bank of America and Mercer, we haven't needed that to go over for any critical reason. So we just let it sit as long as we could, and we're now past those timeframes. So we are trying to get that. We're doing the paperwork now to get it from Schwab over to Mercer.
Thank you.
All right. And Marilyn, just so you know, I do know if you read the reports, there's always a footnote about that, where there's the amount of money that's in the plan, and then there's a footnote that says that that's inclusive of, and it talks about that 10 million and change that's held over at Schwab. So it is plan money. But when I received it in two bunches of money, one with Bank of America, one with Schwab. And the Schwab money, I was able to move the majority of the Schwab money, but not that full $10 million, not that portion of it. And that's why.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody have any other questions? Yes, I see a hand.
Yes, hi, Stephen.
Hi.
My name is Carl.
Hi, Carl.
I got the paperwork to fill out to start collecting on this pension from my brother who passed away.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just wondering, I haven't gotten any statements from anybody as to how much is initially in here
Yep.
for me to start collecting. How do I obtain that?
Okay, so what I'll do is, Julie, I know you usually do, can you post into the chat your email so that Carl can email you and then you can get him in touch with, I think it's Kristen down at GRS.
Sure, I'll put that up now.
Okay, so Carl, if you email Julie, Julie will give you the contact information for the people who administer the benefits for us.
Okay,
And it would be the ones who process any application for benefits and would be able to tell you what benefits are available and what it would mean in terms of dollar amounts and things like that.
okay. Thank you, Stephen.
Sure. Anyone else with a question? All right. Hearing none. Wait, I see. Hold on. Oh, I saw two messages. They were both from Julie. Okay. So anybody else have any questions? If not, then I wish everybody a very good evening. Enjoy finally some weather that is more similar to the weather that Marilyn had down in Florida when she was living down there. It's at least supposed to get into the 80s this week, which is a welcome change as far as I'm concerned. But enjoy. Everybody have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend coming up. And we will schedule something, if not sooner. If we get news that sooner, I will schedule it sooner. But if not, I will see you all again within the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Stephen. You too.
Thank you.